Now you might have noticed with the current platformer player controls in Platformer 101 that things aren't quite perfect. You usually move pretty well, but the movement is pretty basic. Sometimes you can walk backwards, sometimes you stop when you should be running based on the different keys that you've pressed. So to make these controls feel a bit smoother and a bit more responsive, let's go and edit our player script. Now currently we're setting our velocities when our left and right keys are pressed, and then we're setting our velocity x to 0 when those keys are released. We could do this in the constantly loop and detect if the keys are pressed or if they're not pressed and set the right velocity, and that would feel a lot smoother. So let's break down what we've got. We'll take these blocks out of these key press blocks, and then we can throw them away. Okay, so our velocity x blocks can come down here near the constantly block, and we're going to make a new function. Let's make a new function, do something, and let's call this left and right movement keys. Left and right movement keys, and we're going to run the left and right movement keys function just before we play the correct animations, because the animations are dependent on our velocities. Okay. Now, in this function, we're going to ask, is the left key being pressed? Else is the right key being pressed? Else set velocity to 0. So we'll go to control flow, we'll grab an if do block, and we'll make this one into if else if else. First we want to know if the left key is pressed, so we'll go to events, and under keyboard we've got this key backspace delete pressed. Drag that out, connect it to the if, and this can be our left arrow. If left arrow is pressed, what do we want to do? We want to set our velocity x to speed times -1. If you don't have this speed variable, you could just set it to something like -200. That would be fine. Now let's duplicate that key left arrow pressed block, put it in the else if. Else if the right arrow is pressed, we'll set our velocity to speed, or you could set it to 200. And if neither of these are true, if neither of those keys are pressed, we'll set the velocity x to 0. So hopefully this should feel a bit smoother if we play that. Nice.